Paldea's Paradox Pokemon were first discovered in the Great Crater of Paldea, at the very heart of the region, by an explorer named Heath. He led an expedition down there, but it seems things went a little bit wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey. Later, scientists such as Sada and Churro were able to perfect a time machine that would allow them to capture these Pokemon from the ancient past and ancient future? That's not how that works. And far future of the Pokemon world. We get to see what Pokemon would look like in the future and the past. One such Pokemon is Screamtail, a Pokemon that seems to be an ancient version of Jigglypuff. Now, the Pokedex entries of all of the Paradox Pokemon would seem in some way or another, at least, to be exaggerations. Surely this version of Jigglypuff can't be the version that existed a billion years ago. How could they even know that? Did Pokemon even exist a billion years ago? But seeing this ancient version of Jigglypuff did send me back in time and reminded me of a video that I made not a billion years ago, though it feels that long, but just 6 or 7 years ago with my good friend Hips and Hoophop. Hips and Hoophop? Hoops and Hip Hop? What is going on with me today? Ever since that Paldea's Paradox Pokemon, I can't get my words right today. Which is why until the very end, I'm gonna leave the rest of this video to a past version of me and Hoops and Hip Hop. Hips and Hoophop. That's his OnlyFans account.
Hey, Pokemon Monsters, Berkey Batobi here. Blimey, I was just about to make a video and then I heard this song and it's made me really drowsy. Cheese and crackers.
Oh, shoot, it's time to start the video. What's up, guys? I'm Hoops and Hip Hop, and this is a theory that Toby and I did around a year ago, but with Sun and Moon coming out, we thought it was high time to revisit it, and we have changed up a few things. So if you think you've seen this theory before, it has changed slightly. This theory is all about the moon and the Pokemon that live there. So just for a second, let's play Can You Guess the Pokemon? This Pokemon is small, it's pink, it has a curly hair tuft on the top of its head, it learns moves like Sing, Defense Curl, and Disarming Voice, it has the cute charm ability, it evolves with the Moonstone, and it has a 75% chance of being female.
Oh wait, Hoops, I know this one, it's Jigglypuff.
Well, I was actually thinking Clefairy, but the two Pokemon are more or less the same. They have the same shiny colorations, they both evolved from baby Pokemon that were introduced in Generation 2, and of course, they were both once normal type Pokemon that have since been given the fairy typing.
Man, that is kind of bizarre, but of course it's no mystery as to why these two Pokemon are so similar. If it's like game theory suggests and all Pokemon share a common ancestor, most likely Mew, then chances are these two Pokemon are just very closely related, genetically speaking. In fact, there's no mystery as to why they're similar at all. Really, the mystery is, why are they different at all? What happened in the Pokemon food chain or in their habitat to make them evolve differently?
Well, in comparison to Clefairy, Jigglypuff is 4 inches shorter and weighs about 4 pounds less. It also retains its normal typing, and when it comes to the way an organism evolves, it usually does so as a result of its changing environment, and Clefairy is said to have the most interesting environment of all, the moon.
Many things within the Pokemon world suggest that Clefairy lives, or at least once lived, on the moon. In fact, both of course it and Jigglypuff evolved with a Moonstone. In the show they have some kind of rivalry about getting to the moon or coming from the moon. The interesting thing is there's no actual statement saying Clefairy came from the moon. There's just lots of theorizing within the Pokemon lore. They all just seem to believe that that may well be the case. So what happened? Did they live on 2 different parts of the moon? Was that the change in habitat? It seems unlikely. In fact, given the evidence, it seems more likely that both Pokemon don't live on the same space rock at all. And of course you encounter them both on the Pokemon planet. But let's assume that both of their ancestors did live on the moon. Well, let's take a look at Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff inhales the atmosphere to inflate itself and bounce around the planet, jumping super high heights. Similarly, astronauts can bounce around on the surface of the moon because of the lack of the atmosphere and gravity. But not only that, to explain why Jigglypuff is lighter than Clefairy, it could be because it's undergoing what astronauts go through in space, which is muscle atrophy, the wasting away of muscle and bone. Astronauts become physically lighter in space.
Okay, but remember, you can find Clefairy and Jigglypuff in and around meteor crash sites like Mount Moon and Meteor Falls. They both live on Earth in the game, so to suggest one has spent more time than the other seems a little flimsy. I think we need something that, I don't know, carries a little more weight.
Well, Clefairy carries a lot more weight than Jigglypuff, and you can see that because of its finger and toenails, which, if anything like the human world, are made of keratin, the same stuff that makes up your bones. This means that Clefairy, unlike Jigglypuff, has a skeleton more typical to the kind you'd find here on our Earth. In fact, it's even developed wings so it can jump around like Jigglypuff does. You could see this as if its ancestors arrived here, this is how it's evolved to make up for the lack of that trait. It's used to bouncing around high, and we know Pokemon are magical creatures. There's every possibility that it's evolved this way.
So what you're saying is that while Clefairy is from the moon, it has been on Earth a lot longer than Jigglypuff? Okay, well that would explain why in the show, Clefairy has already learned social attitudes and behaviors. It lives in communities unlike Jigglypuff, who is always seen going it alone and clearly has only just got here. It seems that Clefairy has developed its communities inside caves like Mount Moon, and Jigglypuff, excited to learn about our world's culture, is out in the surrounding routes exploring the world. On top of this, one final piece of evidence which we can see in our world is the bloated and puffy faces of astronauts. This happens because on Earth, the gravity pulls the fluids in our body down, but in space, it floats around, giving them a puffy look, just like Jigglypuff.
Haha, there you go. Oh, damn. But I'm gonna be taking a nap now. Why don't you tell the viewers about the sun and moon theory we did on your channel? I'm gonna be napping like a Snorlax.
So, based on that original classic Pokemon theory of ours, that suggests that Jigglypuff has lived on the moon for much longer than the likes of Clefairy. And I would say, yeah, we've got proof of it, because look, 1 billion years ago, Jigglypuff did still look relatively similar to how it looked today. Perhaps occasionally it did come down to Earth. After all, it has to exist in the past of ancient Paldea, at least a little bit, because otherwise how are they catching it? I know the Pokeballs are going through time, but are they going to the moon? There are more questions here than actual answers. There is one other thing that I want to point out about Screamtail, and the idea of Pokemon from the ancient past coming from space down to Earth. Because these aren't the only Pokemon that have come to space before. Deoxys is a classic one that we all think about. Deoxys was created when a laser met with a meteorite in space and changed the DNA inside the meteorite. Many people have theorized in the past that that laser was in fact the result of the ultimate weapon, AZ's weapon 3,000 years ago, not 1 billion years ago, and that caused the irradiation of a meteorite and frequent meteor showers, bringing with them alien Pokemon to the Hoenn region, for example. And I do wonder if that could have some bearing on the Paldea story. It's something I'm going to get more into in another video, but yeah, the Paldean, the crater, filled with crystallized energy that can change a Pokemon's form. And when we look to some of these forms, not only do we see a Salamence that directly references Mega Evolution in Roaring Moon's Pokedex entry, and suggests that maybe it's evolved that way to look like the Mega counterpart, but also a Jigglypuff with a head tail that doesn't look too different to mine. Oh, and more importantly, Mega Mewtwo Y. I should have left that bit in. The lore of Paldea is honestly confusing me, but I thought it would be an interesting chance to talk about Jigglypuff again, and then as I realized what I was going to talk about, I realized I should just call on myself from the ancient past to help out. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below, and of course, so hi Pokemon Masters. Hips and Hoop Hop.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!
Thank you so much to those of you supporting me on Patreon, allowing me to put out as many videos as I have lately, including the big patrons of this month, Anthony Lee, Elgator, Charmander Aznable, and Jedruben. Thank you.